Hello, this is Reverend Christie Hardwick with the Consciousness Cafe as part of SoulCall Ministries, and today I am with Terri Lipsey Scott, an amazing, extraordinary woman that I had the privilege of meeting when I landed here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And she didn't start there, she started in Georgia, but when she got to St. Pete, after finishing school, I was looking at her bio and resume, and the amount of things that she has given service to were just like warming my heart. I really didn't know, because you meet people, right, Terri? You meet them and they don't have their resume printed on the front of their shirt. So you know this
Certainly.
person's wonderful and they're interesting and they're surrounded by all kinds of wonderful people and doing good things, but you don't really know a lot about the history. And I looked at, I'm noticing that you we worked with the housing authority and a credit union and for the mayor's office. And I know that you, as the executive director of the Carter G. Woodson African American Museum, and I know you as someone who's right now doing these amazing online opportunities for people to connect as community. But I know that started somewhere. So I want to begin with just checking in with Terri Lipsey Scott. Welcome. And tell me a little bit about, what you might have brought forward from that first part of your life that was in Savannah, Georgia.
Thank you so much, Christy, for this opportunity and for sharing this extraordinary platform with you. I am, as you stated, Terri Lipsey Scott, a native of Savannah, Georgia. My roots, trust me, are still deeply planted in that community, in that area, and it holds a very special place in my heart. I was raised by two extraordinary parents, my mother and father both, um, of the Christian faith, rooted genuinely and sincerely in that faith, and they imparted that in each and every one of their children. I am one of five children, fourth in line, and I was raised in public schools in Savannah. I went on to Savannah State University, where the first day of school I met my husband.
Wow.
And first day of school, mind you. And needless to say, that's a long, long love story that I hold near and dear to my heart. But the essence of my being was genuinely instilled as a result of who my parents were. And I've lost both of them, yet they're still so very much a part of my life. That upbringing of being genuine, of being kind, but most importantly, being authentic,
Hmm.
never positioning yourself to put on any airs, but allow folks to know who you are genuinely.
Hmm.
And with that, it has just created an extraordinary path of growth for me. And it brings me much delight in drawing that light and energy to my space.
Hmm. Beautiful. So those parents were wonderful models for you, and that happens for us sometimes, but not always in life. And so, what a beautiful
Truly.
thing that you brought forward from them, that sense of kindness and authenticity, and they raised you in a beautiful way. It sounds like. I mean, nothing is ever perfect, but what we
Ever.
land with, and what we end with, and what's left in us from an experience can be really
Absolutely.
beautiful, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm guessing we talk about what's calling to your souls on this program, and it sure looks like a lot of service to not just anything, but very specifically. I noticed that you're in the thick of it. You're in the city, in the work, with the people right there, close by. Is service your calling?
Indeed, I must confess that it is. Along with that upbringing, there was just very important instructions that when a situation crossed your path, that you not turn a blind eye to it. And with that, it just appears that there are often things that we will turn our heads and
Hmm.
not embrace or suggest we don't see it, and we won't acknowledge it. And that's something that I can't do. I
Hmm.
just can't do, which place me in a position of constantly being in the mix, if you will. Um, there's an elementary school here in the city of St. Petersburg, which was the failingest elementary school here in the state of Florida.
Mm.
And it didn't rest well with me because it's within a stone's throw of the museum itself. And I just felt compelled to engage in that elementary school and do what I could in order to make a difference in the lives of the students there. We had residents who were, in fact, neighbors to the museum. They were seniors and those with disabilities who found themselves in very deplorable living conditions. And again, they crossed my path. They were within my view, and there was no way I can turn a blind eye. And that forced me to engage in housing um, situations to better the lives of those seniors and those with disabilities. African American history is extremely important to me. There are far too many untold stories, both past and present, that just truly never received the attention that's deserving. And with that, I've just poured a lot of my heart and soul into ensuring that these stories are told. We create the essence of extraordinary history every day. And each of us have an opportunity to write our own story. What it'll look like is totally dependent upon us, but who's telling the story?
Mm.
It's critically important to me that the storyteller gets it right from this point forward, is my hope. And so I find myself consistently engaged in telling that story and highlighting those stories and bringing to the forefront those who we should celebrate
Mm-hmm.
in a genuine way.
Wow. I think about, you said it, you see it and you can't ignore it. I need to do something about what I see. And I think about the challenge of that every day. And I wrote down for myself, I said, I wonder what keeps, Terri up at night. And you've answered some of that. If you saw that someone's in distress, if you saw that something is not the way it ought to be, instead of just shaking your head about it, you say, what's mine to do on each of these
Exactly.
things? And so I wonder how you make those decisions, because I hope that you sleep occasionally. And I hope that you occasionally have a little time with your family, because based on your record as a spiritual warrior, as a social, entrepreneur, all the things that you do, doesn't look like a lot of time for that. But how do you choose, how to spend your time?
It's truly not a matter of choice, but a matter of commitment. I'm constantly replaying the George Floyd
Mm,
murder in my mind, and I'm constantly seeing and hearing the voices of those standing by, crying out to save his life,
mm-hmm,
and how those cries fell on deaf ears. It did not matter that folks were begging for his life to be spared. They just fell on deaf ears.
mm-hmm,
And so, too often, that is just a reoccurring image in my mind that I want to make certain that I'm hearing and seeing those things that are obvious, those things that are before me on a daily basis. Sometimes we just become desensitized and
mm-hmm,
we don't see and we don't hear the pain of others or the need to be compassionate toward those in need. And I just never want to be blinded to that. So it's not a matter of having the time, but if it's within my peripheral, if it's in front of me, it's mine to do.
mm-hmm.
Those things that are in our path that we can lend to making a difference toward, I think it's ours to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's very clear by how you live your life, and I can, hear the kinds of things that keep you up at night, which are the things that keep me up at night, and so many others. Hearing those voices and hearing, and not even hearing, just knowing that the condition that I live in is not the same condition that everyone else is living in, and feeling for my brothers and sisters, because I know that the whole needs to be lifted, and it's not enough that a few people are lifted. I want the same, for every person. So as you deal with these things, what gets you up in the morning, because you need to listen to those things and you do everything that you can do. And is it the doingness that gets you up in the morning? Is there something about who you're being? What moves you forward every day?
I am committed to being the change that I want to see. And if I'm going to be honest about that, then I have to make myself ready every day for whatever challenge is presented. I recently found myself leaving a post office, and there was a gentleman there who was panhandling, and I pretended not to see him.
Mm.
And I got in my car, and I was so convicted. I got out of my car and I went back and I handed him some money because, again, I felt that that was an opportunity missed. And before I can pull out of the parking lot, what I noticed was this panhandler sharing his gift with his other friend who was also in need.
Mm.
And I couldn't help but think the responsibilities that we have to each other and how selfish we can become sometime and not realizing our true responsibility. I want to wake up every day knowing that I'm doing the will of God and that I'm making a difference in the lives of others. And that gives me the greatest joy.
More,
Right.
So one of the commitments I said to myself, I said, you need to carry cash on behalf of others, even though you don't use it, because sometimes, especially in this environment with so many people, without the roles and the jobs and the pay that they had at one time, but you inspired me to get that done, make sure that I don't miss those opportunities because like you, I will feel that missed
Yes.
opportunity. I will feel that. And that feeling is not about guilt or shaming. It's about the call to being our best,
Exactly.
our call to being
Absolutely.
the best we can be, to being as good as we can be on any given day. Yes.
Absolutely. And to that end, I have since started picking up cards from McDonald's or Walmart's, these gift cards, because not unlike you, I don't carry cash often myself, but I'm thinking, okay, here's a card. Take this gift card and get yourself something to eat, or take this card to Walmart and pick up that necessity that you may need. Because again, I'm not one to carry cash either. But if I can keep this little envelope in my car with these gift cards in them and share them, I feel better
And
about the request and the response.
what a great idea. What a light you are. And you're sitting with that virtual backdrop of that beautiful Black Lives Matter street art that was done right in front of the Carter Woodson that you convened and is really one of the most beautiful monuments that's in the country right now for this purpose. So I thank you so much for everything that you do, for your beingness, for your love, and for your compassion, and for your conviction. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful. I appreciate the light that I draw from you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to spend this time with you. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Terri.